Hey guys, so there are a lot of tutorials out there about how to use like masking and things like that. I'm going to show you a really simple way to give yourself something like a Terminator effect because, I'm a huge Terminator fan. So we're going to use my image, which I already have a reference in here. Don't mind the desktop. So we're going to create something that's very similar to this. The only difference is I'm going to show you what I did from start to finish. So starting off, the first thing I had to do was take a photo. So I'm going to use this photo as my reference. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to come back into Blender, and we actually need to go into our camera. And so we're going to find our camera tool. We're going to click on that. We're going to come into Add. And now we need to add an image. So we're going to add an image as the background. And we will look for that reference, which is called Terminator reference, I believe. So right here, we'll load background image. And so what we need to do is we actually need to set the camera up with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press C. No, it's not C, it's V. I'm going to press V, and I'm going to go into the camera view. Now, this is where I wish Blender was different. This actually kind of drives me crazy about it. Is the fact that I cannot operate it by just looking through it. And it drives me crazy. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm actually going to have to go into Window, New Window, and this is going to become my camera window. So I'm going to constantly be looking through this, and all I'm going to try and do is line up this face with the Terminator's face. So, yay, let the fun begin. So I'm going to start off by zooming in on this little guy. This little guy right here. Let me see where my camera's actually at. I have no idea. So for my camera, I'm actually going to set all these to 0. I'm going to set all of these to 0. And now my camera is facing down, which is okay. I'm also going to delete this image. So for my camera, oh, the background scene. Okay, this will actually work out really well. So, can I not, like, just add an image to it? Or do you not like me? I don't think it likes me. Which is understandable. I don't even like me. Let's see. Will the camera allow me to... Oh, focal length. I actually almost forgot about that. So I need to look up my phone. Asus Zenfone. It's actually Zenfone. And I have the 6 or the 5. I don't know. I need to look up my specs real quick because I do not know what the focal length of my camera is. And it's very important that you match those two up. And I'm going to show you everything from start to finish, so I'm going to pause the video and I will be right back. Alright, so we are back. So I had to look at my camera focal length, and this is showing 3.8. Now, that doesn't really translate over to... Okay, here we go. 83-degree angle view and a 25mm focal length. So this needs to be 25. And I need to load my other window back up so I can see it. Come on, snap in. There we go. And then the rest of it should be fine. I want a background image. We're going to add an image, drop this down, and we're going to bring up my Terminator reference image. So this is what I'm looking at right here. It doesn't quite fit properly. And the reason why it doesn't fit properly because mine was actually scaled where it was starting up. So I may need to set that back to 80, I think. I don't know. I'm going to keep at 25 right now. And then I'll deal with that here in just a second. So what I need to do is, that's the top of the camera. I'm actually going to have to position it around like so. I'm actually going to change this from global to local. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. So this way I'll have complete control over what I am trying to do. And I also need to set this Okay, 25 it is. That's dealing with something else. It's not what I'm looking for. So the issue that I'm having with this image is I actually took it where it was sideways. And so is what I'll need to do is rotate it. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to take this image and I'm actually going to, well, first of all, a better way I think would do it would be Control-CV and just create a copy of it. I'll open this one up and I'm going to rotate it like so. Close it, let it save, come back into Blender. And then for my camera, I'm going to open and I'm going to scroll down and then I'm going to click on Terminator Reference Copy, Open Image. There we go. So now you can see that that matches a lot more. It's still not quite 25, but I mean it's close enough to do what I want it to do. And that's all that matters. I do need to change this. Don't know how yet. So I'm going to... You know what, I'm just going to keep this at 80 for now. Make it a little easier for me to work within the editor. On top of that, I really can't rotate this camera like that, because then I got to deal with that crap later. Yay. So, oops. No, that's not it. There we go. So I'm actually going to... can't do it that way either. Okie dokie. So the thing that makes this really difficult is I actually took the picture facing the wrong way. I should have laid my phone on the side. So I'm actually going to retake this image and I'll be right back in... Actually, I guess what I could do is just open this one up. I'm going to open this up with Paint. Well, not this one. I'll actually open this one up with Paint, but first let me re-rotate it. And then I'll open this up with Paint. So the camera's aspect ratio is... does not say. Okay, that's fine. It doesn't have to say. I can read its mind. No, I can't. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm just going to widen the crap out of this. And normally I would also move this... Oh, no, I better go ahead and move it to the side because this has to be centered. Or, doesn't have to be centered, but it really helps. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to save. We'll come back into Blender. And let's see if we can get it lined up. So we're going to come in here, click on that, and hit Open Image. There we go. That lines up. Sort of. I mean, you can see what it looks like in here. So now it just comes into the part where we have to overlay everything. So I actually need to turn on... That's the wrong thing. There we go. Inside this window, I have turned on my wireframe, or not wireframe, but I've turned on shading. I could also turn on wireframe and do it this way. Either way works, but all I'm doing is just looking at that and trying to match everything up. So as long as I'm looking at that, I should be able to do this. I just need to line up that image. There we go. So you can see right here, that's pretty close. That's actually extremely close. So I need to get the eyes to match up. Oops. So line that up right there. To move that. Whoa. Looks like I need to rotate it just a little bit more. Something like that, I think. So it looks like I'm still kind of off on my angle that I'm taking this at. Not off by much, but I am a little off. So I need to bring it down. Oops, not down. Bring it up. Dokey, so it looks like I need to bring it back just a little bit. In fact, I'm going to bring this screen partially over here so y'all can see exactly. Oops. This way y'all can see exactly what I'm looking at. The only problem is once I move this, it's going to disappear. Now there's no way to share multiple screens. But yeah, so this is basically all I'm looking at is I'm just moving this, and I'm trying to match the eyes up with the eyes and match the mouth up with the mouth. And that's all I am doing. This part is fairly time consuming, but you get to see me actually through all my struggles doing it. And it also kind of like gives you all a better idea of what to expect, so no hidden surprises. So that's actually pretty close right there. I actually need to move it over this way just a little bit. There we go. And so now all I need to do is I need to actually bring it down because you can see where my chin is and where this thing's chin is. But then also my hair is not going to be up there. We also need to still make the eyes match up, so that'll be the next thing. Primarily, it's going to be the eyes and the mouth that need to match up. And the reason for this is because that's what a lot of the focus is going to be on whenever I create this effect. So it's not perfectly lined up, but it's enough to at least give you an idea on where everything's at. This should work just fine. So I'm going to go and close out of that window, and I'm actually going to go to Render Image. And so we have this image. That looks decent, but we need it to render the image background. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go here to the shader editor. I'm going to expand this out. If you're wondering how I did that, so originally this is on the outliner. You click on this right here, and under General, you'll see the shader editor. Right now we have it set to Object. We actually want to change this to World. So if we look at World, this is the background. It's just blank, which that is okay. For this image, that is fine. But, or actually, yeah, we don't even need to worry about a background because this is going to be a back layer. So I'm actually going to go and I'm going to do this real obnoxious green. And I do have a reason for that. Now, one of the things I want to do is right here. Go ahead and bring that in. We have an output, and the file output is going to be BNG. That's fine. The thing that worries me is, let's see, where is it? Here we go. So we need to actually, oh, that's not it. Or is this it? Yeah, this is it. So we have our reference image in here, but what I want to do is, this is the part I'm fairly unsure of. Let's see what it looks like whenever I render this out. I don't know if we're going to need to render this out as an HDR. Yeah, we're definitely not going to want to do that. Definitely not going to want to do that. So if I go to Light and I move this to the center, you don't want to do that either. So I'm actually going to do it this way. I have an idea. I'm going to go back to the outliner. I have a light in this scene. I have no idea where it's at, but it's here somewhere. Let me click on it. There it is. There it is. So, what I want to do is I actually want to bring this light over here. And I'm also going to come up to add, and we're going to do another light, and we're going to make this the sun. And we're going to bring the strength up. There it is. Rotate it that way. Make it where it's beautiful. So let's go to render image. See what we got. And that looks craptacular. So I'm going to continue working on all this. I'm going to pause the video so you don't have to sit through the painstaking things and watch me do everything and render everything out. And I'll explain what I did whenever I come back. Alright, so I am back. This is the image that I ended up rendering out. I gave them a darker color and I have this gray background. Now this should actually work out really well. So I'm actually going to save this. You know, I just realized I'd never saved an image. Save, and this will be T800 layer. I'm going to make sure I save this on my desktop. Save image as. So what did I do to do this? Well, the first thing I did was I actually deleted the lights within the scene. The second thing I had done is I also changed the color. And if you notice, I have a slight blue tint to it, a very slight blue tint. Most T800s actually have a blue tint to them unless it's the chrome one at the very beginning of Terminator 2, but they will have like a really slight tint. Now, I do mean extremely slight. Now they do have a lighter color than this. However, I just went with this color just because, well, I kind of like it. The next thing that I did was I also changed my, oops, wrong one. My render engine. I changed it from EV to cycles. And then lastly, I did something else. Oh, yes, I got rid of the background image and just set this as like a gray color. So now that we've done that, we can go into Krita. Krita is a free software. In fact, you can simply go to Krita.org. Now, these people are not sponsoring me or anything like that, but this is a very, very, very good alternative to Photoshop. I mean, it is actually really good. This is the Blender version of Photoshop, in my opinion. They have it for Windows, Linux, and Apple, and the amount of things that you can do within this program is truly phenomenal. So I'm actually going to lower this. I'm going to come in here and hover this over Krita and just bring this in. The next thing I want to do is actually lower this. I'm going to look for my T800 layer. I'm going to insert as new layer. Now obviously this does not match, but that is okay because that's what transform tools are for. Additionally, something else I could do is inside of Blender, there we go, inside of Blender, yeah, so inside of Blender, I wish I still had my render window up, but I could have also have changed the output of the camera on this. No big deal. We'll see how this looks whenever I start stretching it out. So I'm going to hold down Shift and start moving this. And then I just need to make sure that this is lined up just like it was inside of Blender. I'm going to press Enter right there. And I also need to lower my opacity. So that actually looks pretty close. Just need to make sure I line up the eyes. And yeah, that looks actually pretty good. So now is what I want to do is I want to turn this layer off and I move this to the bottom layer. And the reason for that is because whatever is on top is what will get rendered underneath or get rendered last. So I'm going to select all of these gray areas. I'm going to do that while I'm holding down Shift. And it looks like I'm getting part of the top head, but that should be okay. Although I don't want this back part. So I'm actually going to select, I'm going to hold down Alt, and start clicking and dragging, and that will unselect this area right here. As you can tell, I'm actually very popular today. So, there we go. That looks good. I'm not worried about the top part of the head because that won't be viewable. But I do want to take out this little section right here. So I'm going to just click on this line tool, and all I'm going to do is just start clicking, and there we go. I don't know why I was holding that down. I should have been holding down Shift, which will actually add in a selection. So all I'm doing is just coming through here, and there we go. I'm not really worried about what's in that tooth, although I probably should be, but I'm not. I'm not really worried about this over here, but in case I decide to get a little froggy, we can go ahead and separate this out as well. Okay, so now I'm going to delete, and now we have a transparency layer. And so now I'm going to turn this on, and I'm actually going to duplicate this and turn this one off. And the reason why I'm duplicating, because in case I horribly mess up, like I think I'm doing something good but I horribly mess up, it will like work as a cushion. I don't know how else to describe it, but it'll work as a cushion. So if we erase this, we're seeing an eye already. So I know that this is actually lined up really good. Let's erase this. Okay, so right here, that's not quite lined up well enough. So a lot of this is just dealing with the transform, but I actually forgot something. I'm looking at the eye and looking at my eye, and that is not going to work for me. The other thing I want to do is I also want to bring up the color of this material. So I'm going to bring this up quite a bit, actually, because it needs to have a much lighter color to it. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. And as what I want to do is I actually want to select the eyes. I can go and get on my camera. Let's see, right click, set to origin, origin to geometry. Whoa. Origin to geometry. I'm actually going to get out of this because it's just way too render intensive. And so I'm going to do origin to geometry. I'm going to press G, G. Really? G and G. So the reason why I am doing this is because I actually want to be able to I want to be able to, not that. Oh wait, yeah, I can't do that just yet. I actually need to join these together. So let me do that real quick, and then I'll do origin to geometry. Going to do the same thing here. Object, join, set origin to geometry. Select both of these. And so in the photo, I'm actually looking this way. So if we look at my reference photo, which is somewhere right here, you can see that I'm actually looking towards this way. So this should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine, I think. So right here, oops. Okay, so the eye should actually be lined up right about 3/4 of the way through. So if I go back into Blender, I actually need to look through my camera real quick. And that is about 3/4 of the way through. Let me just zoom in. So I actually want to rotate it a little bit more. And I'm actually going to rotate it up some. So that should be good right there, I think. So we're going to go ahead and render this out, and I'll see y'all in a bit. Okay, we are back. So this is a little grainy, but I'm going to live with it. I kind of also like the fact that you can see the glow on it now. So I'm going to live with this, and we're going to go ahead. Oh, since this is actually rendered out, no, that doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to save as image layer. Let's go back into Krita, and I'm actually going to get rid of this one, and we're going to lower all these windows. I seem to be really good at compiling windows. We'll insert as new layer, and then is what we're going to do is let's transform it. I'm actually going to set the pivot right here. I'm going to line it up with the pupil. And I also need to bring this layer's opacity way up. So this way I can kind of see on what I am working with. So probably right about there. Okay, so that looks like it's pretty well lined up. I'm happy with it. And now I can go ahead and turn that back off. And as we can see now, it's actually like looking at us. Now the mouse still doesn't line up, and that is okay. The biggest thing is I want to make sure that this pivot point is right here. I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit. I'm going to paste it right there. So let's see what it looks like now. Beautiful. So now let's go ahead and start erasing some other sections. I'm going to increase my brush size. So I should be able to just erase different sections, and we see this effect. And it actually looks like it's looking right at us. The only thing is I think we really need to go darker. And the only reason why I say that is because of the fact that we had the light right here that you can see in the photo, but we're not having anything bouncing off of the side. And so I'm going to start working on that. I'm going to start working on that and setting that light up to really emulate like what you'd expect to see. And so while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and go to new window. I'm going to lock this one in as my camera so I can see exactly what I'm looking at. So the light right here needs to really be reflected off. And I'm also going to make the endoskeleton color darker. But I need to select something on it first. So actually I'm going to undo that color change. Going to select right here. I'm just going to make all this darker. I can actually come in here and take a look at it too. And this will kind of like really help me represent to see what I'm actually looking at. So the other thing I want to do is for my image, I'm going to show you this real quickly. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. And no, that's not it. Render, here we go. I'm going to actually do, let's see, 128 passes for the sampling. Light pass, yeah, looks good. Just trying to get like as high resolution as possible, basically. It's like this right here, this looks really good, but when I render it, that's not what I end up seeing. I end up seeing something else. So let me go ahead and come in here. I'm going to add a light real quick. This is just going to be a point light. And this is going to emulate what I am seeing inside the photo. And so on this other monitor, I'm actually going to be doing the same thing where I'm basically rendering. We're actually seeing what it looks like over on the other side. I just need to bring this over here. And I need to bring this down. I also need to just go into my regular basic window. Right now my computer's kind of pissed off at me. So now I know you can't see what I am doing right now, but I promise it is nothing too terribly exciting. And I will show you what I'm doing here in just a second. Set that to an 80 watt. There we go. That's more of what I'd expect to see. So in this window right here, this is what I was looking at. I'm just trying to match the bounciness of this with that, so that way it kind of matches what you expect to see. And this will actually kind of help illuminate everything and make it just a little bit more believable. So that's all I was doing over there. So I'm going to go to render. I'm going to pause the video and I'll render this out. Alright, you guys, so while this was running out, I went ahead and took me a quick break. Since we are back, let's go ahead and save this image. I'm going to save it as the same that we have been before. Let's come back into Krita. I'm actually going to delete, let's see, where you at? Cut layer, that's what I'm looking for. And so let's go ahead and come back into my desktop, which I know y'all are probably just looking at like, man, that is so terrible looking. Insert as new layer. I'm going to move it to the bottom. And let's go ahead and start transforming. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm actually holding down Shift. And the reason for that is just because it makes it a little easier. Well, not that it makes it easier or anything, but it makes it where I can actually see what I'm looking at a lot easier. Not easier. Why do I keep saying easier? It's because it... These messages are not helping. But, basically, I am... What's it called? Uniform shifting. That's what it is. So that's why I'm doing it this way, is so this way I can have uniform shift, or uniform scaling, shall I say. And it just lines everything up a little bit better. So I'm going to press enter right there. Let's make sure that all this stuff lines up. So teeth still doesn't quite line up. So for the teeth, I'm actually going to put this point on the eye, and just like before, I'm going to scale up. I probably need to scale up just a little bit more. I'm going to have to scale this out and then up some more. Something like that, I think. Yeah, there we go. So I have this layer. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to duplicate this layer. This will be the layer I'm actually working within. So what I want to do is I actually want to do some hard... I'm actually going to do some hard brush strokes. Like so. And something you can do that is actually a lot easier, just kind of like cut out like this. Using a lasso tool and just press delete. And then I'm going to do the same thing right here. Just delete that. So now that we have done that, is what we need to do is we need to create a new layer. And Krita comes with a lot of different tools. I'm actually going to use, I guess I could use the spines. That would probably work out pretty well. So what I'm going to do is just, yeah, that should work out pretty good. I'm actually going to go with like this dark red texture and just start painting in real quickly. I'm going to go to a darker color. Just a quick paint. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it should be alright. So I'm going to go to an even darker color. I'm going to create a new layer and do this underneath. Go back to a darker color and kind of like put that right there. And so now I'm going to do the same thing up here. All I'm doing is just painting between the two layers with the layer that I currently have selected. Or actually, I don't want to do it right in here. I'm going to do a little bit right here. Mainly it's going to be around this edge. So let me come back up here to this tool. Nope, that doesn't do it. So I'm just going to come here real quickly and do that. And then I'm going to come to this tool, set the opacity up, and let's set this to 60. And kind of like fade some of this stuff out. There we go. And then I'll come back to that tool I was on, which is this one. I'm going to go a little bit darker. Just going to come up here and start coloring in real quick. There we go. I'm actually going to go really dark right here and up here. So the reason why I'm going darker right here, I'm going to do the same thing down here. I actually want to come in here and do this, is because the way the light is coming in. So that's the only reason for that. So now we have this right here, and we actually need to, I'm going to duplicate this layer. So once again, in case I mess up, no biggie. The first thing I need to do is actually blend this in with what's going on around it. So we already have the cutout, which looks decent. Well, you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? That looks like crap. But it looks decent for now. So I'm going to select this little Q-tip icon. This is actually a blend. So I'm going to set this to 30. All I'm going to do is I'm just rapidly clicking on the mouse and just kind of blending this in. And I'm just following this line all the way around. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing for here. I'm just going to constantly click, there we go. So the only thing that this is doing is this is actually smoothing my lines for me. And this will be fairly important later on. And so now we can kind of see that that's starting to smooth out quite a bit. Next thing I need to do is I actually need to add some, what is it? So right there, this is actually the wrong tool. This is the tool I want, but I need to make this one smaller. So what I want to do is kind of like push all this back. Yeah, it has too much of a comb effect on it. So what I want to do now is it's something very similar to that. I just don't like the way that one was turning out. But basically, it's going to be the same principle, where all I'm going to do is just start kind of like pushing that out. Unfortunately, this tool spins whenever you move the mouse, so it makes it kind of difficult. But what I can do to kind of like mitigate that is I can come back to this, and I just need to make this probably something like 30. And I'll just come in here and start adding cracks to the skin, or whatever this tool is called. And all I'm doing is just coming right around the edge, like so. And I'm using the dark one intentionally, or I'm using a dark color. I'll end up going with a lighter color on the layer in between. And so this will kind of like help break that up a little bit more. And it'll kind of help blend everything together. But that's also why I'm zoomed in so closely. So there we go. Oh, I don't have another layer above. That's okay. We can still make it work. So all I'm doing is just coming back around here. So that means I'll have to go over this layer a couple of times. I really meant to put that on the layer above, but because I didn't, it's a little chaotic, but that is okay. There we go. So now I'm going to go back to this other color I was just on, and we're going to go over this one more time. There are actually several other ways you can do this. I'm going to show you another way here in just a second after I get this on. So there we go. There's the little fleshy bits. this time I'm actually going to do it on the proper layer. I'm going to show you what would have happened if I would have done that correctly the first time. So once again, I'm just going to go around the outside. Now right here, because this is a fleshy bit that is actually overhanging, I need to make sure that I go all over within a good radius of this. Okay. Then I'm going to do another layer. And this is actually more of what I meant to do previously. Could I have undone all that? Yeah, I could have. But I'm being kind of lazy. I'm just trying to get this tutorial done for you guys, so you will know exactly how I did this effect. Well, I'm sure some of y'all are like, what are you talking about? I never wondered how you did this effect. I'm just curious because I saw it on YouTube. This is true. However, I do have friends that were kind of like wondering how I did this. That's a little too bright right there. There we go. That's better. So that doesn't look too bad. We need to actually hit it with a little bit more. I'm going to go with this color instead. I'm just going to overlay it real quickly. Try not to lay it on too thick, because then it kind of like loses the illusion a little bit. So there we go. So now is what I need to do is I need to look up some beef jerky. Say what? Yep, beef jerky. Is what we're going to do is we're going to type in, we're just going to type in, oh, steak. Images. So this looks perfect. Oh, this looks even better. But no, I don't want to know a top sirloin. I just want an image. This right here. This looks perfect. This little section. So we're actually going to save this image. Okay. Why would I want that? So let me show you this little trick. So I'm going to bring this in as a new layer. And I'm actually going to bring it in right above the image right here. And so now I know where it's at. So once again, I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to take this tool and I'm actually going to cut I'm actually going to cut a little extra around it. Like so. And then I'm going to go to select and we will invert the selection. I'm going to press delete. If I have the right layer selected, I can then hit delete. And so now we have this meat texture, which actually I don't want to do that one. The reason why I didn't want to do that one, because yeah, it looked good, but I was getting part of this in there, and I really don't want that. So I'm going to move this right about here. So it's okay if we have this blurring because of the fact that this is actually pretty thick anyways, so it's okay to have a little bit of blurring in there. Biggest thing is I just don't want the cook part. The cook part will actually lose the illusion. Okay, so I'm going to go to select, invert selection. I'm going to hit delete. And now we have this right here. And so what I want to do now is go into my tool. I'm actually going to duplicate this. Same reason, in case I screw up. Laying that on a little too thick, so I'm going to come through here with a harder edge. Do it this way. Coming all the way around here. There we go. So I'm going to go and bring down the opacity. Alright, let me bring up the opacity now. So now is what I need to do is start like I'm going to start lightly erasing. I'm actually putting a lot more detail into this one than I did my previous one. There we go. So that is a little meat effect that you can do, and I actually need to bring it underneath both of these. I need to bring the opacity all the way up. Let me come back into this tool. So I think I actually need to hit these sections a little bit more. There it is. So I'm actually going to start erasing some of these sections just a little bit. So, okay, this is actually a prime example of why we duplicate. Because I actually thoroughly screwed that up. Which isn't a problem, but something I really don't like doing. So now is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and erase the center again. Just around here. And one thing you can do is you can actually click on this wand and click in here. And it's not selecting it the way I was hoping it would. I'm trying to get where it's just like little tidbits in there. That is not the selection I wanted either. So if I hit delete, we now have this really neat little effect. And I'm going to go to select, invert selection. I'm going to hit... I don't really care for that as much. Alright, there we go. And now I'll go to... Let me think how I want to do this. I'll probably go ahead and come in here. Let me go to select, invert selection. And I'm going to lower my opacity quite a bit. I'm just going to kind of like make this where it's just barely noticeable. But then on top of that, I'm going to come in here with the same tool. I'm just going to overlay some of this real quickly. Let me go to a different color. And the other way I could do this, I'm going to show you the other way I can do this real quick. Because the reason why we're getting this weird look to it is because of the fact that we have all these different colors and it doesn't actually know which tints we are trying to select. So let me undo a few more times. It won't let me. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it this way. I'll just show you this real quick. I'm going to turn this on, duplicate it. This is why I like having... This is why I like to duplicate things. So if I turn everything off, including these, now there's not a whole lot for it to actually like select from. And so I can actually delete this section, click on here, delete down that section. In fact, that section can, oh wait, no, it cannot go all the way. Because if we turn this back on, there we are. If we turn this back on, this is going to be our meat layer. And basically, I want some meat in here, but I like the idea of having some that's just completely torn up. And so this is where the knife tool can really come into play, and we can just kind of like scrape. And I still don't like the way that looks. So let's go and turn this back off, and we're going to select in here somewhere. We'll hit delete. I'm actually going to select the eye. I'm going to completely delete that. And then I'm going to come back to this tool, select off of that. Now I'm just going to kind of like clean up this section just a little bit. There we go. And so now when I turn all this, wrong one, when I turn all this back on, we'll see that we actually have like meat in there as well. I need to clean this up just a little bit. This is where this tool comes in, so I can actually like give it some harder edges. Probably need to go and lower the size to something like 5. There we go. So there's that meat look. Should have another layer on. I just don't know where it is. There it is. Alright, so there's part of that. We're going to do the same thing down here. But this one's actually going to be different. Oh, wait, one last thing. So with this one selected, this is too pink. I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be pink because, you know, it's raw flesh. But we actually want to come up to filter. We're going to go to adjust, and we're going to go to the color balance. And we're actually going to increase the red hues on it. Not that much. So the midtones, we're actually going to bring those down. We're going to bring up the shadows. Let's bring up the highlights just a little bit, I think. I'm also going to pull this back on the magenta. Just a little bit, not much. Probably need to bring this one up just a little bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to go back up to filter, adjust, and we're going to go to levels. I'm actually going to bring the levels down just a little bit. Okay. So there we go. That's not looking too bad. And now we're going to do, we're going to use the same meat that we used before. So I'm going to turn this one on. All I'm going to do is just bring it down. Not that one, this one. We're going to bring this one down right here. So is what I want to do, once again, duplicate. But I'm also going to bring down the opacity. So this is actually going to have several different sections. So I actually need to rotate this where it's kind of like that. Because this is going to have like little bits hanging off of these little cylinders. So something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and start... let me go ahead and duplicate this layer real quick. So I'm not duplicating it because I'm afraid of messing up. In this case, I am actually duplicating it because I'm going to use different parts of it. And so I'll come up here and I will start erasing. So I actually want this right here to be right around here. And I'm just going to come down here, then I'm going to come back up. So I'm going to come here, come back up like so. And we're just going to paint out the rest of this. There we go. So now I can bring the opacity up. And what we want to do is, let me go ahead and move this one so it's hanging right here off of that little piece. And we are going to start adding in some of these effects. So we have this little paintbrush right here. I'm actually going to set this down to 50, I think. That should work. Yeah, it should work. So, oh, you bastard. There we go. Going to add that. That. I'm actually going to lower it to 25 so I can add some of these little details. I'm going to go to a darker tint. There we go. So now we have that little piece that's hanging. And I keep thinking I'm on the right thing, but I never am. So I need to create a new layer. And now we're going to start really painting in and getting this done. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes right now just because I am super tired. But this is something I told a friend that I would do, so I am doing it. There we go. So now is what I want to do is I'm actually going to hide this meat, and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to turn the meat back on, but I want to invert. Well, I don't want to invert the selection, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say select, grow selection. I'm going to grow it by, say, 5. And then after that, I can come in here. Let's test this out. If I select the right layer, Okay, so that actually hit it way too hard whenever I grew the selection. So I need to go to select, and I'm going to feather selection, say by 5. So there we go. Just one quick little piece, and it's a little piece that's just kind of hanging around. But now the last thing I need to do is come in here and start tearing away at it. So that's all I'm doing real quick, is just tearing away. There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to do the final layer, which is this. I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to duplicate it. Part of this is going to come up here, and this part is going to come down here. And then I'm going to merge these together, and I'm going to duplicate those and turn that off. And now we can start erasing all the stuff in the middle. So I'm going to set this to 60, and we'll just get rid of just the stuff in the middle. There we go. Like so. Probably right there too. Alright, so that's not looking too bad. Start softening up this edge some. Alright, so this one I'm actually going to turn all these layers off, like so, where it's just this meat layer. Ah, there we go. And the reason why I'm doing this, because now I am going to use this tool. Just going to bring it in like this. See how that looks real quick. Can't help but to think I'm missing another layer on there. I am missing another layer on there, but it's not that one. Missing something. Oh, it's because I keep turning on the wrong one, that's why. Okay. So, doesn't look too bad. But my project is getting kind of unwieldy. I will admit that. So let's go ahead and continue on. There we go. Alright, so now we need to back off on the opacity for the meat layer. So I'm going to duplicate it because I like the way it's looking so far. I'm going to click on this. I'm actually going to bring the opacity down to something like 20%. Just start fading it on the edges. So after that, we're going to come in, and this is finally on the final stretch. Oh, thank goodness too, because I'm getting really tired. I'm looking for my... That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a layer up here. And I need to make this way smaller. Make it smaller. Okay, go darker. and go darker. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go really dark right here and right here. I'm going to go light right here. So I actually probably need to move this layer down underneath here, right above the endoskeleton, so that way it's not overlapping. This is kind of light. Then we'll go somewhat dark. And we'll go dark right here. And we're going to go back to a light color. Going to go back to a dark color for the edges. Okay. Going to go to a light color. This one I'm actually going to set to 10, just because it's kind of a wide area. And I'm going to set this back to 5. I'm going to go dark. So I know this area right here is fairly well lit up. The reason why I'm going dark is because, or it's why I'm saying so small, is just because it's easier to fill. So this right here is a light area, and you go to 15. And then I'll go back to 5 and lightly cover it in. I'm going to go back to dark. Okay, so go to light. And for this layer, I'm going to drop the opacity some. Oh, that's a good layer. That's not the one I'm looking for. So this one I need to drop the opacity some. This one I need to. Okay, there we go. So right here I need to come up one layer. And this is where I really start having fun, because I actually need to look at the highlights and things like that, as well as a highlight of the meat. And it can be kind of unwieldy. Darker. Let's go darker. Go lighter. I'm going to set this to 10. Go lighter. Okay. So now I get to create the actual blood layer. Awesome. The way I'm going to do that, I'm going to set this back to 80. Let's go and see how this looks real quick. So that's a bit unwieldy. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select the entire skin layer, and I'm holding down Shift while selecting these different sections. So this way it'll kind of like keep out on the areas that I don't want it to go. So let's look for, that's not it. What does noise look like? No, I don't like that. Let's see what this looks like. That looks a lot better. But I want to be where it is actually coming backwards, like so. So now I'm going to go darker. And let's see what that looks like real quick. Don't really care for it. Y'all are probably like, joy. Go figure. But one thing that we can do is let's go ahead and grow the selection. I'm going to grow it by 5. And this way it gets more of the skin encompassed. And then I can just come back in later on and clean that up. So we can actually probably use a hair brush tool and do something like that. I think that'd be a lot better to do. The other thing we can do is come in here And I'm just going to quickly outline this like so. And I could do the same thing down here. The advantage of doing it this way, we go back to grow selection, I'm going to grow it by another 5. But the advantage of doing it this way is whenever I do it, it actually kind of already feathers in for me. The downside is that they're, well, just that they're feathered. And it does the same thing. Well, actually, this one down here did it really good. So, I think the way I'm going to want to do this, what does this splatter effect look like? Yeah, that should be a lot better. So, the only issue with this, and this is why we're actually using a new layer. So, I'm actually going to go with the heavy splatter. Kind of paint it on there. So, I'm only doing it on this back side right here. Go a little bit darker. Don't want to get in the hair. Go a little bit darker. Go a little bit lighter. All I'm doing right now is just overlaying. That's it. And so now I can come in here and I'm going to change the size to something like 20. Just kind of like, I don't really like that. That's actually a hair tool. But this right here should work. So what I want to do now is I'm going to click on this transform tool. This right here has tool options. We're actually going to go into perspective. I'm just going to bring this down just a little bit, and I'm going to reline it back up. Like so. So now it looks like it's actually going along my face. Oh, I just noticed the meat in there. How did I not see that before? There you are. So let's go ahead and clean that up real quick as well. This one's going to be super easy to do. Because I've already been using the blood spatter, it's going to be really, really easy. All I need to do is just come in here and just kind of add a layer in here. All I'm doing is just lightly clicking and going over it. That is it. So it looks like I got some more up here. I can just kind of quickly come over that. And there we go. Yep, got some down here. That one might actually be this other layer. No, it's still that same layer. Nope, there is another layer. There is the layer. So this one, I'm going to actually come even darker. I'm just going to quickly overlay right here on the edge of it. And then last I'm going to come up to this one. I'm going to do the same thing, which kind of helps break some of the stuff up just a little bit more. So let me come back up in here. Make this up just a little bit more. So it is definitely a lot faster to just do a, what's it called? It's a lot faster to just do a thing, you know, a mask. It is a lot faster to just do that. I'm not going to lie. But if you don't have any of that stuff available to you, this would definitely be a better way to go about doing it. Especially if you're just looking to do something that's, I'm going to say, somewhat quick. So what we want to do is, I'm actually looking for a very specific brush. I can't remember which one it was. I've only had to use it like a handful of times. And so I don't just want to do that. I guess I could use this tool. Because I did duplicate the layer. So let's see what this looks like if I just drag this down. But I need to click the layer underneath it. Yeah, see, I just don't really care for that too much. I guess I could set this to something like 5 and just kind of like... Okay, maybe not. So I'm going to turn off the visibility on that one. I'm going to drop the opacity just a little bit. Not much. And there we go. There is a Terminator image. And it is looking at you. Now, one last thing I want to do. Y'all are probably like, you keep saying that. I'm about to quit this tutorial. But one last thing I want to do is the Terminators actually have a grid-like pattern on their eyes. Find the right brush size. So all I'm going to do is just come in here real quickly and do this. And that did not work out the way I was hoping it would. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find an image. Here we go. This one should work. Let's go ahead and save image as. Save. I'm going to come here and bring it into Krita. Insert as new layer. We're going to move it. So all I want is I want this little section right here. I'm going to move that right there. I'm going to click, get this. One more time should do it. Right there. Control C, turn that off. Control V, there's my new layer. Let's go ahead and hover this in place. And there we go. That's the easier way of doing it. And you can also come in here. Let's say like you don't really care for that, like something just looks off about it. You can actually come in here and actually create a black edge around it. Like so. Just real lightly. Nothing too intense, nothing too insane. Just a real light black edge. So there we are. The wonderful Terminator image. So I know this is a really long tutorial video. If you guys made it to the end, well done. If you guys were actually following along with me trying to like do all these steps, even more well done. If you guys just fast forward it to the end of the video, like I'm sure you're hearing me say and you're probably laughing about it, well done. Basically, a lot of this stuff is just me showing you little tricks. One of the things I'd like to showcase real quick, wrong button, is in, what was it? Pirates of the Caribbean. The way they got the dead look on them, and this is actually where I kind of like got this idea from just now, was they just took pictures of beef jerky and things like that and took little slivers like this. I'm going to say Control CV. I'm going to turn that off. I'm actually going to come up here and throw that up there. And so all they did was just do this, and that's how they overlaid it. So essentially, with this in place, I can actually just come up and create a new layer. And all I need to do is just the same thing I just did. But this time, because it's not actually down to the bone or whatever, I can just come in here. That's not it. Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I think it's actually this one. Okay, it's got to be. It's got to be this one. It's just got to be. But I'm going to set this to 20. I'm going to lower the opacity. There we go. So if I were just to come in here real quick and paint this in, and all I'm doing is just going to shift through my colors real quick. I actually really need a dark color in here. There we go. So that's how you can do something like that. And obviously you'd spend more time than that on it. Like if you came up in here and had some highlighted tones, that tone is actually the wrong direction. Came in here and did something like that. It'd give it a lot more depth. But that's basically how you do something like that. It's just using pictures of meat and then doing different things to overlay it. I'm not going to spend as much time as I did with that. But yeah, so that's the idea of creating your own Terminator. Hope you all like this, and I'll see y'all later.